Notice, in accordance with the new copy regulations, this episode of Quoth the Raven is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we'll feature is kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address adults and inform them of said content for them to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well. Rated TV 16 and up. And welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 28-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games as a writer, illustrator, and editor. And if you enjoy my channel, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below on the this side over here. No, I'll get the camera over here on the YouTube channel for that. We appreciate that. It always helps. And this week we're going to be doing comic reviews and a little bit of comics news discussion. So let's go ahead and get straight to that with our reviews first. And that is the BEQUEST #1 for $4.99. Publisher is Aftershock Comics. The writer is Tim Seeley. The artist is Freddie Williams II. The colorist is Jeremy Colwell. The genre is urban or postmodern fantasy. Basically, that means it's fantasy, but it also takes place in our world, real world, so to speak. It was released on March 17th, 2021. And what it's about: a group of fantasy adventurers from the outer dimensional realm known as Tangia are exiled to Earth and tasked with locating and capturing an evil warlord who has come to Earth, specifically Chicago, Illinois, and is acquiring modern Earth weaponry while empowering white supremacists with magical abilities. The truth is, I've seen better out of both Seeley and Williams elsewhere, so I'm a little bit disappointed in this issue, but it is the first issue. It could, it's got plenty of room to improve. It's a perfectly serviceable comic issue, and it is just #1, so my hopes aren't dashed for the series, but I do think I might need to lower my expectations of it. Recommended for ages 16 and up, 3 out of 5 stars. And here is some of the interior artwork. They've found this dragon, only to find that the dragon has been pretty much all but killed its last moments, more or less. You see all these wires and technology hooked up to it. It's because they've been draining its life force out of it. And that's the evil warlord that's come to our world, has been draining all the magic out of the dragon and is going to give it to the white supremacists, and they don't know that yet. But that's what it all is, basically, what's going on between the group. So... again, I've seen cleaner art from Freddie, I guess. It's hard for me with Freddie. I started working with him back before he got known for doing all digital comics and became well known in the market. So I'm used to a different look from him, and I've never quite gotten used to his all digital style. But it's still good work. Our next book is Dose #2 for $4.99. Publisher It's Alive. Sean Ellis is the writer, and John Gebbia is the artist. Genre is science fiction noir, and it was released on March 17th as well. Honestly, this issue is a little bit of a confusing mess for me. I'd forgotten what the events of issue 1 were, because originally this book was put out back in the summer of 2020 via crowdfunding. And I know that It's Alive put a print version through Diamond. That's how I got it. More recently than that, but it's still been months and months since I got the first issue. I just don't remember it that well. Basically, a couple of drug-addled assassins are tasked to take out the protagonist from the series, and we see them having communications with their employer, and it feels very much like a sort of retelling of events from issue #1 from one of the assassins' point of view, instead of the protagonist / target. And then the last few pages, we get back into the protagonist's point of view. It's kind of weird. It's not bad, it's just, if I hadn't read issue 1 and had some vague recollection of what the story was about, I'd be lost. Okay. I do love the covers. I had to get both of them, which is a rarity for me. I particularly like the globular heat lamp type look on the bottom. That's the alternative cover. Has various like scenes from the comic in each one of those globules, and it's very trippy looking, interesting thing there. I did like that, and I like the police soldiers from the first one as well. So I was only going to get one, but then when I saw both of them in the store, I was like, you know what? Both of them are really cool, and I just the cover that's on the top is actually in the center of the back side of the cover on the cover B, but it's so small comparatively that you don't get as much of a emphasis for it. You don't get to see the whole image like you do in this cover A. So I went ahead and got both. And here's an interior. It is a black and white interior book with a lot of quality duo shade type work on it. The assassins are being contacted telepathically, and they meet their employer, and the female assassin is having a kind of a weird experience with telepathic communications, and she's kind of having a trip element of her own all throughout the entire conversation, and wasn't really involved in the conversation. And then when they snap out of it back, what happened? Well, I was kind of having a conversation with the telepath instead of with the boss. That's why I was quiet. And they're like, oh, that's not good, because that telepath's like an assassin that's the elite. What's going on here? And I don't want to reveal what's going on because it's kind of an interesting turn of events. Anyway, next book, Origins number 5 of 6 for $3.99 from Boom Studios. Writer Clay Chapman, artist Jacob Rebelka, with colors by Patricio Del Peque. Genre science fiction, again, came out last week, March 17th. And what it's about, we learned that David, the last human, had a wife that he modeled his artificial intelligence protector robot, Chloe, in her likeness. This changes a lot of the dynamic between the characters. It makes Chloe wonder who and what she really is. If she's based on likeness, is her brain scans based on the life? All kinds of weird things. The network, which are the bad guys, are like think of it as kind of like the hunters in the Matrix, I guess, but they're not like the Matrix, but it's all robots, but it's all interconnected group. They still hunt the two of them and the last of the free will robots. A battle ensues, and Chloe is overtaken by network viral programming. Only one more issue to go for this arc, or maybe for the series. I think it's an arc, though. It will probably be thematic about whether or not Chloe can regain her sense of self and figure out who she is, or will she be overtaken by network and become a Trojan to destroy the last vestiges of humanity, meaning David and the cloned DNA cellular beings that can be grown into humans. It's recommended for ages 16 and up. I think I had it recommended for younger and earlier issues, but it's getting a little more adult in the language and stuff. So I'd say 16 and up. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And here's where you see all these clone duplicates of Chloe. And David explains that she had cancer, and when he finally figured out what was going on, I thought I could bring her back. And so, they've been around since he was, David's been around since a little boy, grown into a man. And Chloe's like, you knew all this time? You kept this from me? He goes, I didn't remember or didn't know, not until the memory upload from the previous issue. I was so furious with myself, so angry at my past self for being so selfish. You modeled me. You made me look like her. Do I talk like her? Do I act like her? Am I her? Who am I? What am I to you? And that's, like I said, it changes things dramatically between their relationship. Next book, Orphan and the Five Beasts, #1, $3.99. Publisher is Dark Horse. Creator is James Stokoe. That means he does everything: writing, penciling, colors, or writing artwork in colors. Just the whole thing. Genre is Japanese mythos fantasy. Released last week, March 17th. And what it's about, a young female orphan named Mo is tasked with stopping 5 beasts, formerly warriors of the house that had taken her in and trained her. Each of these warriors having learned only one aspect of specialized training in order to team up and defeat an evil foe from ages before. Now each of these warriors have become corrupted by their own falseness and their failure to return to the house and complete their training, and are an endangerment to the whole world. Can Mo defeat them and bring peace back to the land? It's a fine issue. It's a very good start for #1. It looks to be a very strong series for 2021. Probably, I would not be surprised if this wins an Eisner nod, if not an Eisner outright, for best mini-series for 2021. It's got that kind of potential. Recommended for ages 16 and up. I give it 4.5 stars. And here's some of the artwork. And this is Mo talking to her mentor, who's nearing death, and he's in a sort of a weird hot tub thing that he's having visions from and stuff. But ultimately, he knows he's near death. So he's telling her what's going to happen and what she has to go against, the corruption of these 5 warriors that went up against the wolf shaped like a man, which was the evil foe. And they come to him to be trained, and he's like, well, you're not going to have enough time to learn everything, so I'll teach each one of you an aspect, and then you come back after you've defeated him to learn. And they promise that they will do this, and of course they don't. And of course, because they only have part of the power corrupts. So she's been trained in all of them, though, and she'll be facing each one of them. And then as she's making her travels, this is one of the warrior heroes that has become evil. He's called Thunder Thighs. And you can see he's on this horse, and it's like, the way James has drawn it, you can't really see where his feet are in. You might think his feet are part of the horse, but the reality is he's got his feet like right in the side of the horse, and you don't get to see the next thing. But basically, he makes the horse jump, and he's so big and heavy that he splits the horse in half, and it dies, obviously. And he's like, well, yeah, they don't make more horses line. Give me another one. Get me another one. The only thing is he's killed all the horses around with his grotesque body and stuff. So it's quite the interesting book. And James Stokoe's art is really nicely detailed and stuff. The patience he must have to make some of this stuff, it's just something else. Our next book is They Fell from the Sky, #2, for $3.99. Publisher is Matt Cave Studios. Writer is Liza Buenaventura. Artist is Xavier Tarrega. Colorist is DJ Chavez. Genre is science fiction. Released March 17th. What it's about: Tommy takes the alien, that's the critter in the basket, to a local veterinarian for treatment for its injuries, claiming that he's a dog. Problem with that is that our alien has a broken leg, and that means the vet had to take x-rays. Pretty damn sure that she knows it's not a dog. And since it wouldn't resemble anything that she would know, it would be a completely alien species, there's no way that she's not going to let that alien out of her sight. Just saying. It's a really big story flaw there, and Yeah. It kind of just throws the whole story off for me. Anyway, the alien is now named Orion. They have some minor misadventures as Tommy tries to keep his family from discovering he's got an alien at the farm. Eventually, though, Orion scraps Tommy's laptop so they can fix his communicator device so they can verbally communicate and understand each other. And together they go back to the crashed site of his ship to try and figure out if they can fix it. And no dice. Apparently, there's stuff that he can't fix. So the next morning, Orion disappears, and old man Jeb Dean has apparently told Tommy's parents that Orion isn't what he seems. The pacing is a little improved from issue number 1. The art's solid, but like I said, there's a lot of logic problems with the story and script. The vet would never have been fooled into thinking Orion was some kind of dog. Why Jeb Dean is the one who would be the telltale, that doesn't quite make sense to me. To me, I say the vet calls the authorities, which would send the crazy jerk cop from issue 1 after Tommy, no doubt. And again, this is what's going to happen anyway. It's just, it's just kind of weird that it's like a sidetrack issue almost to me. Overall, it's just an average comic, and this I gave it 3, but I could even go lower. I could even go 2.5 on this one because of how bad the story logic is with this. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but anyway, don't have any artwork for it this week. I didn't have it nearby to scan it. So those are our reviews for today. But we got something else to share with you. And that is news has been talked about recently. DC has been raising the price on their comics, and a lot of people have been asking about my thoughts on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the article that they're reviewing, that they're talking about. DC increases price of monthly Batman comic and others to $6 each. DC had, of late, seemingly settled on number of pricing points from $3.99 as a 32-page comic book, which has only 20 comic book story pages in it, to $4.99. That gets a 40-page comic that has about 30 story pages. And a cardstock cover adds another $1 on top of that. Well, with Infinite Frontier, DC Comics launched and reformatted a number of their comics with increased page counts. Batman number 106 and number 1 had comics with 22-page lead stories and an 8-page backup strip, 30 story pages for a $4.99 price point. However, it appears that those prices are now going up without a corresponding increase in page count. In other words, solicitations for Batman number 109 in June and for Joker number 3 and 4 are now $5.99 for the same 40-page comic, with no decrease in price for the non-cardstock covers. Also joining the $5.99 for 40 pages price point in May is Superman Red and Blue number 3, which was previously 48 pages for $5.99. It's only going to be 40 pages now. And in June, Wonder Woman Black and White and Gold number 1. And with the Batman Fortnite 0 point number 1 through 6, priced at $4.99 for 32 pages from April, could there be more price raises to come, or rises to come? Should be raises. And they go through the list of all the different articles of the solicitations. And that's about it. Now, people have been asking me what I thought about this situation. Isn't this pricing people out of comics? And a lot of people are freaking out. And, the reality is, it's not the price point, it's the lack of pages and the lack of story content for the money. That's the problem. And it's the other thing that's a problem is that these books are serialized and don't have complete stories in them. So you're forced to buy multiple issues to get the story, which means you're not paying just $6, you're paying more like $30 by the time you get through a 5 or 6 issue story. And that's it is getting out of hand. But the rumor is, and this is, deep lower rumblings in the ground, shall we say, but it's coming from sources that are reliable. DC plans to end publishing serialized format comics. in the next 12 to 18 months. They're going to go strictly digital, and then anything that goes to print will go to print in trade. That's the rumor. And like I said, it sounds very plausible that could happen by the end of, anywhere from the end of this year to the end of 2022. That could be the direction DC takes. And if that is what DC does, you can expect Marvel to follow suit. Relatively quick order. What does that mean for the industry? Does that mean that the comic book shops are dead, or what does it mean? Well, what it means is that comic retailers need to wise up, and they need to help us that are doing the crowdfunding and help us that are doing underground comics to get a different distribution set up, that these retailers as a whole, the same ones that are doing Diamond, because Diamond doesn't care. Steve Geppe's ready to retire. He wants to sell Diamond off. He wants to get rid of Diamond, to be honest. He's done. You know, he's old, and there's nobody who really wants to take up Diamond. And so the best thing for this industry to do is get a new distributor that's going to market all this other content that Diamond doesn't have, and make it affordable for people. But we have to have retailers that are willing to embrace that and embrace the creators that are producing that kind of content, rather than being unnecessarily loyal to corporations. Because obviously these corporations are going to leave you hanging, and you can't afford to do that anymore. You got to get yourself prepared before it hits. Now, we've got a lot of different groups that are trying to form coalitions. We've got different groups that have distribution systems in place. We've already seen when DC went to Lunar, the negative reaction by comic retailers. It wouldn't have mattered if we had COVID or not. They would have had to stay, still would have complained. COVID didn't help, obviously, at the time when DC did this at the height, not the height, but the beginning of the pandemic. It was bad timing, but it was going to happen regardless. It would have happened 3 months later if the pandemic hadn't hit. So, the reason it happened when it happened in Lunar, DC left and went and did Lunar when they did, was because Diamond shut down temporarily. So, I understand why they did it. And like I said, they would have done it 3 months later anyway. People don't realize that, but that's what would have happened. So I guess what we need to do is, instead of doing this campaigning pecking order, trying to market everybody one by one book through crowdfunding, and there's nothing wrong with crowdfunding, but that's like boutique publishing. We need to get things where all of our products are out there in an easily locatable and orderable location online, whether it's for retailers or for front-end consumers, so that we aren't having to go hunt down every campaign on Indiegogo and Kickstarter and Patreon and all the other different platforms, and just waiting for piecemeal shipments come. It would be great if we could all get a central hub where we're all going through one central hub, and people can get all their stuff in one big lump order every month or every 2 weeks or whatever. That's really what the future of our industry needs to get to. And retailers need to get on top of that, and so that we, the creators, can get to that, because we can't form these coalitions and form this centralized hub if we don't have a large enough group of people that are going to order in bulk to warrant the cost of building that system and maintaining it and having warehouses and people to run those warehouses do things. Okay, so that's what I think this is going to be leading to. But it's it's a question of, are we going to be doing it limping towards a goal after the fact, after we've already had everything blown up, or are we going to do something preventive and react to it because we know what's coming? Why don't we, react to it and at least get ourselves in a position where we're not all blown up and trying to build from scratch in that regard. So that is my thoughts on that situation. So that is it for tonight, folks. And I want to thank you for watching. Wednesday, I'll let you guys know what I'm doing for this week, what books I'm getting. If you want to reach me between now and then. You can reach me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, on Twitter at LewisBrightRave2, DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven, on YouTube at Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven. If you have questions, email me at QuothTheRavenLBR72 at gmail.com. If I don't answer there, try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. Our normal schedules. Our Mondays is comics, news, and reviews. Wednesdays is what did you get this week. Thursday nights is usually a roundtable talk discussion. Haven't got my last week's guest, can't do it this week, so I got to get new guests for this week. Last week I didn't do the show because of what I thought were going to be some bad weather problems in the area. Turned out that was a false alarm, but by the time they told me it was a false alarm, it was too late to do the show. And then Fridays, we'll have our genre night with a different genre. And I don't know if I'm doing that one solo or if John Norris is coming back, or we're going to have some additional guests. But we're going to probably talk maybe a little bit more about covers, or maybe some other things. I don't know. I'm going to see what I can do about getting some extra guests on for that night as well. This weekend, on Saturday, I will be inking Live Draw. And I don't know if I'm going to be inking a piece by Michael Pennick or a piece by Peter Vale. But we'll, which one I get ready and have finished for presentation. I'll probably let you guys know on Thursday or Friday, and then you guys can let me know which one you want to see first, because I'll do both of them at some point. So that's it for this week. See you next time.